And welcome back to another live reality games podcast. Here at Live Reality Games, we cover everything from College Survivor, which we'll be talking about now. We'll be talking about some other live reality events later this week, such as more Survival Challenge. If you have yet to catch up on all the lives happening, Can You Survive just ended last week, so we can't wait to do a little deep dives with the contestants of that great charitable event. And of course, Survivor BC is happening right now as we speak also. But thanks for tuning in tonight, specifically to watch Survivor CNU in Deep Water. We will be covering episode 11, the penultimate, as Trevor kept using last week. So I have that term down. That is almost the ultimate or last one, and we're almost there together, folks. So Trevor, welcome back tonight. How are you?
Thank you. A little bittersweet knowing that I can only do this we only have 2 more episodes left. Only get to talk to you. I don't know when we'll do Thursdays anymore. I guess I'll just watch Big Brother on time instead.
Well, if you're not doing anything Thursdays, I'm sure we have some great coverage that you can help podcast with. So
exactly,
we might have you on for a special guest. So for anyone tuning in to specifically the podcast and just listening audio wise, Trevor has a new haircut today. Trevor, it looks fantastic.
Thank you. I combed it about 5 minutes ago. So
well, speaking of haircuts, we're also you see where I went with that, folks? Yes, speaking of haircuts, Alex is here tonight as well. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing good, Dustyn. I'm very interested to talk about this past episode and how the season has kind of led up to this point here between the people that are left and see what might happen and what we've seen this past episode. Here.
Now, as far as our viewers are concerned, we're familiar with who Trevor is. We know Trevor's the host. Trevor does the challenges. He does the tribals. He does all that fun stuff. Alex, who are you?
So I'm going to be the host after Trevor because he's going to be graduating. And so I'm going to be the person that's going to be being the host after him. And you'll definitely be seeing me in the near future of CNU Survivor seasons. It's going to be interesting to see how I could shake the game up even more than he already has and just build along these steps that he's built for me to take over. So
now these steps are pretty nice. When we started covering CNU, I was like, I haven't really followed this one yet. Like, I've seen it posted, but this is my first experience into the world of CNU. So I'm excited to have Trevor introduce me to this series pretty much, and Alex to see you come in and be able to take it over and run it from there. So Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself. This is our first time introducing yourself to our audience here at Live Reality Games. Like, do you watch Big Brother? You're a big Love Island fan, I hear, right?
No. No, I do not watch Love Island, but I'm a huge Big Brother fan. I'm a huge Survivor fanatic. I'm a challenge fan as well. I pretty much cover all reality TV. I'm on my phone looking at live feeds and stuff, and I'm pretty much very much on top when it comes to the reality TV world of what happens. It can understand what person goes home and why they might do this at this situation. And it's very interesting to watch.
And we appreciate you watching our stuff too. We were just talking about Survival Challenge, so we're glad to have you aboard and this whole community here now intertwined. Now I'm curious. This is probably your first time watching season 2 in Deep Water. What are your thoughts so far? Like, you come in a little bit later to this whole realm of CNU Survivor. Yeah. What do you think we're up to right now? Like, what do you think of the season as a whole?
I think the season is actually pretty good. There's a lot of definitely developing storylines within the season with the different types of characters that we have, between Nick being the strategic mastermind in the beginning, and then you had this Hannah and Colin Ray couple situation, and
that
you
nobody seems to know except for the audience. Like, it's been brought up a number of times. Nobody ever really pays attention to it.
Yeah, and here's my key to a winner is that you have to go through adversity at some point. You're going to be on the bottom at some point, and you saw Hannah being on the bottom at the beginning after the Maggie vote, and how she pretty much saved herself with the gay vote, pretty much convincing them to vote for themselves, and and Hannah voting Gabe instead of voting for who Gabe was going to go vote for, and pretty much they made it to the merge, and they pretty much have Hannah and Colin Ray, along with the rest of what was left of Piptali Bismali, has really taken over this game so far in the post-merge.
And what's interesting, I think all of these players that we have left in the game have, like you said, had some sort of adversity in this game, and they're all here because of that. So we'll start at the recap here. So spoiler alert for anybody watching at home, but I'm super disappointed. Henry, my winner pick, was eliminated. That was the bummer for me, I'll tell you. So
yeah, and it was a big move. In real, I can give some real time insight into it. I remember thinking okay, it's the final 6, and there's only so many times you can play this idol. And we said multiple times, Henry approached this game differently than basically everyone else that's here at this point. So I can't blame him entirely for not playing the idol at 6. Just because of, like I said, he has a different frame of mind at that point, and it was also great seeing the John Pulley cameo that Colin put in there from season 1. It was great seeing him back as well on this series.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of adversity and the folks that we have now in the final 5, I think, like Alex, you were saying, Hannah's seen a lot of adversity with that vote. I think another person that's seen a lot of hardship coming in is Shaggy. Shaggy lost his number 1. Lily was voted out, and I'm assuming, Alex, you know how this season all ends up as. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing Shaggy also has a bit to get through and try to regain his footing during this whole thing. So,
yeah, and that's where he came up with the final 4 between Hannah, Ray, Leah, and Shaggy. And it'll be interesting to see whether them 4 can stay together or whether they'll fall apart and break up into 2 couples. It'll be very interesting to see, because now you got to think at the end game with the jury. You don't want all of Pinky Pack to be on the jury, and you're sitting at the end. Are you going to think, oh, are they going to vote for me in the end because I betrayed all of you guys and I make it to the end? I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see how they play the jury.
And speaking of it, go ahead, Dustin.
No, Trevor, go ahead.
Speaking of adversity, I mean, we have Kristen, who is facing adversity right now. I think up to this point, she's kind of been able to, be second in command to Nick, and to be second in command or third in command, roughly, with Henry and Sophie and the Red Scare line. She's been able to, pitch in where she needs to and stay out when she doesn't. And now we're at a point where she really needs to work physically and or socially and strategically to find a crack in this 4-person alliance that came out at the final 7.
Yeah.
Literally, that was what I was going to say. I was like, because Kristen is in that spot now for adversity. She just got blindsided yet again, and now she's just hanging on a thread. Especially with her immunity idol wins so far. I know this last one was kind of a give it to Kristen kind of thing from the negotiations, but she has won some already. She's been a fierce competitor, we've seen. So,
yep, she's won 2 immunity challenges so far. So it'll be interesting to see whether they take her out due to her being a physical threat or whether she's just the lone wolf, and the 4 will just stick together to the end, possibly.
And then the adversity for Leah, I can see it as from even her parents. She makes a fantastic story. And what I'm realizing about Leah is really well spoken, and she can tell a really good pitch. Like, she has a story and lays it out there, and we all relate to it. She was on last episode with us, and it was really, I just wanted to sit and listen to everything that she had to say about it. And I think she has more to say. So she's probably going to show up later. Maybe not tonight, of course, but maybe on another episode to recap and hear all about the final episode with us. So I think Leah's adversity is just maybe herself thinking that she was going to go home every single week and knowing in her mind, like, if I go home, it's going to be okay. So I can see that being her adversity.
Yeah, and I think I think I said this around like the final 10 or 9 or so that, I think just about anyone can win. I think it still stands true, I mean, Hannah and Colin, as we've seen, have kind of run the strategic game up to this point. Shaggy was able to make that big connection with Hannah and flip the vote at 7. And Kristen and Leah both tied for the win in Touchy Subjects as the dark horse to win. And you can't count them out. They're both good socially. Both Kristen and Leah have friends on the jury. I think honestly, it's anyone's game at this point. I think at the time, everyone kind of knew that as well. Once Henry goes, that's when a lot of chips are wherever the chips fall, it's gonna be whoever comes out will definitely deserve it.
Yeah, just thinking about all the jury people right now. Kristen's in a really good spot. Like, I think that's probably what they're going to have to look at too. Besides her wins for immunity, she also has a lot of friends, a lot of past alliance members that she was blindsided on. She didn't have to vote these people out. And we see this on a bunch of college survivors. People don't have enough time to kind of like calm down about their feelings and kind of like think about the game as a whole. We've seen a lot of people make quick judgments and maybe vote with their emotions. Alex, you've watched a few things too. Do you think that turnaround time is a lot quicker for college survivors?
I would say for turnaround for college survivor, I would say it's definitely a lot quicker for sure. Like, some people could just forget about it, but then it'd just be like, okay, I'm out of the game. Let's see who's there at the end and think who should I vote for to make this big decision for our season? Because that's who everyone's going to remember at the end of the day, is who won. No one's going to remember second or third place at the end of the game if it is a final 3 or a final 2. So everyone wants to win, and I think every single person has a chance to do that. It's just a matter of getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've seen that a lot in somewhat more recent Survivor. Like, I remember that was a big thing in Second Chances and Game Changers, like in the CBS shows of like who best represents this season and what is at War II. Like, especially based on like the theme or anything. We don't really have a theme for CNU except it being nautical. So
who's the best swimmer out of this season? I guess could be a good question.
Swimmer. That's a good question. I don't know anyone that was on a swimming team on the show. That's a good question.
That should be a touchy subject, bro.
That should be. That
should have been the last episode, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see Colin Ray being good at swimming. I'm gonna go Colin Ray.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I could see it.
So, Alex, you bring up a good point for touchy subjects. We talked about it kind of last week, but there's a lot we still left covered too. Is there anything specifically that you were surprised at? This is actually the first time you're seeing this edited. I'm sure you've heard about like what's happened and everything. How is this different than what you may have heard in the past?
I think, I didn't know anything about this in the past, but the fact that Colin Ray didn't vote Hannah as most attractive, that would have hurt me. And if I was in a relationship, just like, hey, just throw me the bow. Like, come on.
It was so funny. That challenge was so funny with the whole Colin and Hannah stuff.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a recurring joke, kind of like behind the scenes of so the final 3 in that challenge was Colin, Hannah, and Kristen. And Colin was up there trying to decide between Kristen and Hannah, and Henry says, "Your girlfriend or not your girlfriend?" And Colin's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, "Yeah, Colin, it's one of these two girls here." And Hannah turns around to Kristen, and is like, "Yeah. Wow, Kristen, I didn't know about you and Colin." And like it was like a very sarcastic joke because like at that point everyone already knew.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a recurring joke of like, "Oh, Kristen and Colin are a pair. They're a duo. They're a couple."
Shocker.
I don't think I've seen a single conversation between the two of them, so that's amazing. They kept it so much a secret. They probably don't even know about it.
No, they don't. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe. I don't know.
Now, Alex, you kind of know like the background of CNU and the Survivor that Trevor does. But throughout what you've been told about this, was there anything in these episodes that you come to discover like, oh, I didn't know this, or wow, Colin Bunn is really a strategic mastermind, or something like that?
I think definitely strategic masterminds go home early in College Survivor. They don't tend to all work together, and they tend to just come at each other, and then you kind of just have left with the leftovers. It's kind of like when you have steak, but then you're left with the mashed potatoes at the end. That's kind of what's left.
I could definitely see that, especially in like an LRG. I think this is probably a trend in a lot of LRGs, and like even in Big Brother, we've seen like this season we've seen it of like big fans play way too hard because they're so excited, they're so energetic. Like look at Frenchie, look at John Enkelhofer from this past season. They're really big fans. They're really excited, and they have a lot of good skills, but if you don't use those skills correctly and at the right time, it can be detrimental to your game, as Alex just said.
Any cast assessment that I go into for like the cast reveals, or kind of when we try to make our live reality games predictions, if you say you're a Survivor fan, if you just come out saying, I'm a huge fan of the show, I can't wait to do this, I'm like, oh no, you were going down on my list. Like, people that come into that have such a build up for like, oh gosh, this is the fantasy, like I can do this and this and this. And they often don't see what's in front of them. Like, oh, I have all these big plans, but then I have a whole team that wants to vote me out. I should have been watching them instead of thinking about my own game.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to find the idol. I'm going to split 30 different votes. I'm going to do all this moves. I'm going to backstab everybody. And then you realize when you get there, you're like, this didn't work out so well for me. Maybe I should have just stuck to one side or something. Maybe I shouldn't flip-flopped at that point, but maybe we're the vote after. It's all mind-boggling decisions at a second's time. And one of those decisions can screw you the entire game.
Alex, you bring up a very key word in the votes for this last episode, idol. Henry has an idol. He said he was going to play it for the last 12 weeks. Trevor, when does this idol expire? Is it Final 5? Just to clarify?
Yes.
Okay.
Through Final 5.
Through Final 5. And Henry's not here. Henry didn't say much on his little exit interview, so I was really hoping to pick his mind about like his gameplay and like his experience. So Henry, please share your thoughts. Trevor, from your viewpoint, was he thinking about playing it at all, or did he confidently think like, I'm not playing it?
I don't think he ever seriously considered playing it unless it was like beyond obvious. And even I think at the time, even at that point, I think he was very, very looking forward to playing the idol at 5. I think he wanted to feel safe, like don't even have to worry about the challenge. Don't have to worry about any strategizing. I have an idol. I'm in the Final 4. I think that's what it was. And he was very confident because, like Colin and Hannah, like, the conversation right afterward, where after the challenge, where they telling Kristen and Henry, yeah, you're good. And I think Henry felt Shaggy was a big enough threat strategically and physically that like, it kind of makes sense that Shaggy should go home. And you're like, okay, you take out Sophie, okay, fine, but Shaggy's still the one to go next. That was my understanding at the time, talking to Henry, that he was very content in playing the idol at 5.
Alex, wrong decision, of course, right?
Yes, but I think he should have got the sense of it when they didn't accept the deal at the poll challenge when they were at the final four, that they wouldn't step down unless if you step down. That's not really a good deal to make. They're pretty much trying to get you to jump off just for the sake that they can win, just so that it isn't you winning. It doesn't really mean that they had to jump off, because honestly, they could have been fine for all we know. They could have hung on there for an additional hour or however long they wanted to go, but they want. They're like, we probably got homework to do. Let's just make this decision now.
Yeah.
Let's just get this over with.
And I remember talking to Chris. Like I was filming Henry at the time during the challenge, and I was thinking like, okay, Colin and Hannah are definitely trying to get Henry off because they want him to go home. Kristen is the only line of defense that Henry has, and then Kristen's like, Henry, let's just do it. And I was very confused as to why she said that, but in confessional, she says, yeah, I was slipping, and if I fell, they'd still be on those poles. Because no one would want to drop, because they both neither of them trust each other. So Kristen was like, okay, just get this done quick. I want to go to bed.
Now this sounds like a traditional thing. You did it in season 1. Who lasted longer, season 1 or season 2?
Season 1. Season 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, Encyclopedia, but I believe season 1 went about 3 hours.
You've told me 3.5 hours. It said on the timestamp 2 hours 53 minutes, but you've told me that that's wrong. So
yeah, roughly 3 hours, I'd say season 1 lasted. I think season 2 was. Yeah. I mean, it was like not even half that. It was very, very quick in comparison.
Yeah, I think you did a shout out for 110 minutes. So
yes, it was 1 hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Times lapse, and then which that probably felt longer for you guys, but I know I felt longer when Shaggy started singing 99 bottles of milk on the wall.
Yeah, that was I was not on that side. Gwen, our vice president, she was on that side, and I felt horrible. I went over to her a couple times. I was like, Gwen, I can take over because I know he's singing. And I think the person you annoyed most was Leah, because Leah just was like, all right, I have Spanish homework to do. I don't feel like staying on here with Shaggy. I'm not going home. Like, why would they vote me out? Like, this is ridiculous.
And that's good for her. Like, at this point, you're wanting to get out challenge threats. So the fact that she's like, oh, I'm just going to fall. I lost my balance or whatever and just be out. So
hey, fly under the radar while you can. Nowhere to hide.
That's what we talked about a lot last episode. Is Leah, she might not be the best physically, but socially she is in a tremendous spot that she can just spend 20 minutes on the pole and be like, all right, see ya. And then has like no votes still, just no vote cast against her at tribal. It's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because at that point you would think, oh, maybe she's comfortable. Maybe she doesn't feel like she's safe this week. And clearly they don't see her as that, which I think will be interesting to see moving forward, whether that still is what it is.
Yeah, I really liked from a filming side how everyone was spread out and we got confessionals from everyone on the light pole themselves. I think it was enough space that they can confide, especially because do you typically go to the challenge right after the vote?
It depends. I'd say probably about half the time we do.
Was this one of those occasions?
Yes.
Yeah, because it seemed like it was really fresh in everyone's mind and everyone was either confident in their vote or had no idea what was going on. So it was really interesting to see them trying to convey with the camera person their thoughts and wanting to talk and wanting to try to figure out what's going on, but you have meters between each other.
Right. It might be a bit too much inside baseball, but the way that how I thought to set up challenges was at the final 7 we do touchy subjects because 7's an odd number. You could flip on at 7, and then right after the final 7 vote, we do an endurance challenge where there could be talks. People that might now be on the bottom have a chance to win the challenge and even shake things up even more. So that's kind of why I did that. I did it both season 1 and season 2. I did the poll challenge right after this final 7 vote.
Well, it's good. It's building a tradition. Alex, season 6. I guess we're gonna have poll challenge at 6, right?
You'll have to find out and see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good luck for the contestants of 6. Maybe hold out for longer than 3 hours. We're trying to set a record, folks.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think Alex wants that because I did not want that when I was up there. It was like 2 a.m. I was still standing out there, and it was brutal because we had a late tribal, and then challenge started at 11. And
well, me, I wouldn't do a tribal right before that challenge. I would probably, or even then, if they were available on the weekend, we could go the distance if we really wanted to.
Oh. Yeah, well, I don't know about that.
But it all depends on them. I can't control that. So.
Right, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts, Alex, about the negotiations? Colin Ray really stepped up and started saying, "Hey, here's my offer," and it literally wasn't, "Hey, here's my offer. Here's my offer, Hannah's offer, and Kristen's offer." Henry, do you agree?
I think Colin Ray's, he was just trying to get Henry off as quickly as he could possibly can because obviously Colin Ray trusts Hannah and Colin Ray is in cahoots with Kristen. She knew that she didn't have the numbers. It was just either like, just go with the plan or maybe you're against us and we just maybe vote you off instead of Henry possibly because you didn't want to agree with the deal. So I think it was kind of like, sure, I'll do it. Why not? I've got nothing to lose here. Maybe I can do something. Maybe they'll trust me a little bit more than I did before coming onto the poll.
Now, I think Henry was wise. Like, he had a captive audience, and he really was trying to find out the information of that last vote and just to try to solidify it. I know the other players were like, "Oh, I'm so annoyed. Like, we could have agreed on this." Like, Hannah's like, "We told him this 30 minutes ago. Why didn't he just agree?" But he wanted that information.
Yeah, and I think in real time I was also like, "Oh man, Henry is still not taking this deal." I don't know when this is ever. I don't know when this is ever gonna end. But after the fact, I think it makes sense. Doing everything you can to at least to squeeze as much information out of them as you can to figure out like, "Oh, why do you want to make a deal so bad? Why do you want to do this and that and everything?" Like what's your next move, especially after seeing one of his biggest allies go home and Sophie. Like I don't blame him whatsoever for playing it like that.
Alex, watching season 2, you've heard about it, so on and so forth. This is your first time watching it. Who were your standout favorites, even if they've been eliminated or maybe at the finals right now?
I think definitely one of my favorites. It's got to be Hannah, without a doubt. Lily was definitely one of my favorites coming in, and Nick for sure. Just do the strategic aspect of him. I thought that maybe he could go super far.
Personally, we picked out Lily right away too. She was super committed, and the way that Hannah plays the game, she was super competitive. So we really liked her. No one seems to be a fan of Henry. I'm a huge fan of Henry. I like an oddball playing character. Like, I am all for like the Chaos Cast, like the Shireens of the survivors. Like, no one knows how they're gonna vote, and that's okay for me. Like, I like to watch that.
Yeah, whenever I think about like that kind of person, I always think of the quote by Jeremy Collins where he's saying like it's so much easier playing with someone that's really smart than someone like Keith Nail, because like I don't know what Keith Nail's gonna do. Like, I can't control Keith Nail. At least I know like I know someone like off the top of my head like Josh from that season. Like, I know he's in my enemy, but I know what he's doing. I have no clue what Keith's doing. So
yes,
I kind of felt like that's kind of where Henry was. I can't believe I just compared Henry to Keith Nail. But yeah, it's such an interesting kind of player that you don't get a lot in these kind of games, because you're always going to get the super fans and the really hard players and everything. So it was really refreshing having a character like Henry on the season.
Yeah, which I think actually goes to your point of likability. I think likability can get you very far in college Survivor games, being likable just on campus. I mean, he was the president. It's like, how dare I vote off the student body president? I'm gonna be a bit of a problem here.
Yeah.
And so
that was the point I pitched at first too. Like, he could get you an extra vending machine. Why are you going to vote him out of Survivor?
Like, why would he take advice for you after you backstabbed him in the game? It's like,
yeah. Yeah, I remember a lot of people were very concerned about Henry making it to the end, and to your point, Dustyn, especially with the idol, it was kind of like, I mean, you know, I feel like it's such a strange dichotomy because at the beginning of the game we had people like Nick saying like, you know, why are we taking Henry out now? We can wait. We can take Henry out whenever, and then it kind of shifted to if Henry makes it to the end, like how did we let this happen?
yeah, pretty close.
So
because I mean, at one point, Nick and Henry were allies. At one point,
yeah,
where it was funny when Nick was working with Colin Ray, and Nick was just calling all these numbers, and now here they are, all make it to the end except for him.
Yeah, as the entire alliance made it except him.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's what he gets for not showing up at Tribal, Nick. I'm so sorry. Like, everyone was like, "Oh, quick, change minds. Let's vote Nick out." So,
yeah, that's a very strange circumstance at that point. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Alex, up to this point, what has been your either like maybe not favorite episode? If it is favorite episode, then what's your favorite episode, or maybe like favorite moment, from a fan's perspective? I know you've heard the lore from me before, but like seeing it in this version, what's been your favorite moment?
I would say my favorite moment was definitely. Oof, there's so many good ones. It would have to be. It's got to be Hannah and Ray exchanging idol clues in the beginning of the pre-merge. I thought that was pretty interesting, and then Hannah, without pretty much finds the idol just because they're all working together, and I thought that completely changed the entire game because now you hear everyone saying, "Oh, where's the idol? Where's the idol?" Does Henry? Everyone knew that Henry has the idol, but no one's going to expect it coming from Hannah as well in the final 5 if she plays it. I mean, you never hear her name coming up at all because she's been in all these different alliances and all these different people working with her, because I think she's worked with everybody at some point within this game.
Yeah,
that's left, and it'll be interesting to see how she uses that to maybe get her to the end possibly.
Yeah, the ramifications of that have been really huge. And I think a lot of times people just assume like, oh, this person has the idol, this person has the idol, and like it's so important knowing that you have the idol. It's like, okay, I don't have to be paranoid about it. If someone plays on it because I have one, I'm fine. I can do whatever I want.
Or you can maybe just use that as an excuse and maybe say, yo, maybe we should just vote for this person because they might have an idol. Maybe let's just go for them instead, see if fetch it if anybody, because at this point you're just saying anybody else but me at this point. You got to play for the game for yourself. And you can just pin a target right on her back just because she said something to that one person. It's interesting.
Right.
Similar question to you, Trevor. Like, as the editor or one of the editors per se, like what parts where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we have this one confessional that says that, or wow, the filming was perfect in this one challenge. Like, what's that one point that you're like, this is it?
I even before the season started, like right after this tribal council happened, the Gabe boot I knew had to be the biggest moment of the season for us. So I made sure all the camera work was good and everything. I made sure I was like, Carson, you better bring the best camera you've got because I know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be great. So that especially was good. I'll also say for when Sophie went home, I was unavailable to do confessionals that week because I was like out of town and everything. So it was my first time watching exactly what happened, because I saw through text what was happening, but like, it was the first time seeing like, okay, Kristen actually threw the challenge at 7 at such a subject, so that was really good. Seeing Henry flip the vote off of him because he said the idol thing that in real time, that was really interesting. So I think that just shows how dedicated not just the players but the production that goes behind this are, because I wasn't there to help them at all. and call
Yeah,
a good job.
yeah.
editing
Me
that.
also watching you guys produce for a season. It's very interesting to see how you guys operate and how hard you guys work to do all these confessionals and stuff. It takes a lot of time and dedication to do all this stuff. So, props to you guys.
Thank you. And on behalf of all of us, thank you.
Are you coming in as part editor as well, Alex, or just strictly a host for this next generation?
We're thinking about possibly doing a side thing of possibly doing a Survivor editing club as well. Maybe so like we could just get the footage out, maybe lead it to them and have them edit it as well, and then we could just like release it when it's ready, or whenever Trevor's last season airs, and when that's over, we can just get all the footage out as quickly as we could possibly can. Because who doesn't want to keep watching Survivor?
Yeah.
College Survivor. I mean,
Now, I have a prediction. I am seeing, like you said, your generation 2. I'm hoping, Trevor, your final semester, you decide to turn the reins over to Alex and you step in and become a player. Is that right?
There was certainly discussion of it. So I already graduated. So I graduated this past semester. There was discussions of it, of me going in, but I was like, I put in way too much. First of all, if I go home early, I'm gonna be so mad. I won't be able to let myself down again. I'll just stay as host and we'll just deal from there. I just had Alex just shadow me my last semester, so that and a lot of most of the production crew is still the same. So it's basically the same people. It's just without me. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Alex does, and I think the work is in the right hands. So.
Yep, and I've also recruited the right people as well to carry over once the rest of the production, because a lot of them, they're going to be gone soon, eventually, because they started out with Trevor after they got off their season. So it'll be interesting to see who comes in after they're gone. And hopefully we can find that within these next couple of seasons or so. We'll see.
How has it been, like, progressing through the seasons? Are you finding a lot more people, like, applying? Are you getting more well known?
I think around campus, it's more well known. Like, especially my last semester. Like, for instance, just a good example of it. I was on the phone talking about like setting something up for a challenge, and I was printing something for like my class or whatever. And someone behind me whispered, like, "Oh, it's Survivor CNU." I was like, "What? Do you know about my club?" And they're like, "Yeah, I know about it." Like, "Oh, okay." So I think generally I've gotten more applications and opportunities, and just being more well known on campus. Like it's crazy because like the first season I had 14 people on the cast and I had 14 applications. So everyone that applied made it, and to like season 4 where I had alternates. Like having alternates was just a dream come true for me at that time. And I think we have enough popularity to the point where Alex, I think, can have a much more smooth sailing than I had. But yeah, so Dustyn, I want to hear. I know Desi's not here. Maybe we can ask her at some point. Going into this finale, your winner pick just went home. Very, very sorry about Henry.
I know. I am too.
No
one's gonna like run around the challenges like he did. Like where do I go? I'm gonna miss that. I'm going to miss that.
I know, right?
Going into this, what is your like power rankings of who you think has the most likely chance to win the Survivor CNU in Deepwater?
Well, first of all, Destiny did chime in with a few things from our messages. She does want to relay MVP once again is Hannah. I don't know about Hannah being MVP. It sounds like Colin kind of made the decision in that, like, getting Henry to like step down, and I don't know if it's just because of the angle of the filming. I didn't hear Hannah talk up very much in that challenge. I think maybe Colin was just more annoyed by Shaggy singing, and it kind of frustrated him already and wanted to be done earlier. I don't know, but I didn't feel like Hannah was really like for that, especially kind of throwing a challenge. I don't see that in Hannah per se, to throw a challenge in it's kind of what she did, and I don't think she's going to take likely to that. I understand it was all just to get Henry out. It worked just fine for them. However, I feel like she's like, oh, you offered me up to nothing. I could have won this challenge. And I think that's not in Hannah's like mentality to like just throw a challenge.
Yeah. Especially knowing Hannah, the super fan that she is, she's probably like, Colin Ray, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm trying to win this challenge here. Why are you offering this up? It's like it's like seriously. I'm trying to save my idol for Final Five.
Exactly.
When I don't have to use it here, possibly. Or go home with it at that point. So
just looking at the jury, I think Kristen has a lot of friends on jury, and I think Shaggy also does. I know how jury goes. Jury talks. And I see like Lily over there. I see even like Colin over there. I see them talking to the other jury members and trying to help out Shaggy's game as much as possible. Now, if Shaggy does go home, of course, their next focus will be Leah. And I feel like it's not like a group mentality because everyone can vote. Everyone has different reasons to vote, whether they're most strategic, whoever most the one competitions or nicest person, whatever, however people vote, random number 1 through 10. Everyone has their own thing. But I really think like the jury really talks with each other, and even if they don't mean it, they discuss their points, and those points translate to other people. And I think especially Lily will pitch for Shaggy to win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What would be interesting, though, if Colin Ray makes it to the jury and maybe pitches Hannah her points that maybe nobody else really saw, because Colin has been Hannah's right-hand man in this game, and maybe they don't get that point of view and can completely flip the jury in that point if she gets to the end, possibly.
Because I don't think that'll work opposite either. If Hannah ends up on jury,
exactly.
Knock on wood, just in case, because I know Destiny's about to slap me for saying that. I don't think that's going to work the same way. I think Hannah will try to be very strategic minded, and she's like, well, Colin Ray did play a good game, but maybe she thinks somebody else did a better gameplay. Maybe a move that she sees like, oh, hey, Kristen is the last person of the like original tribes from her team. She lasted the longest. She was able to like navigate under the radar. She had some very good skills of throwing challenges when she needed to. Maybe that's something Hannah will take into consideration and be like, yes, you can vote for my boyfriend, but Kristen also, on the other hand, has a lot of good attributes that you should look at as well.
Yeah.
Colin took Hannah out of the challenge. It's unforgivable. Hannah's got to get some revenge. But yeah, I think you said it best, Dustin. The winner of the season is often decided by the mood of the jury. You know, are they? You know, there's so many situations of like, oh, they really like the underdog story of Kristen, or they really respect the strategic game of Hannah, or they think Leah is the nicest, like you said, or anything. Any of those are possible. And you know, whoever wins is in the eye of the beholder, you know. Mm-hmm. And I no matter what happens, you know, I remember at this point I was like, no matter what happens, I'm proud of this season. I think we've done a really good job, and I think the editing has really shown that this group really came to play.
And I know that we're all very aware this is a college Survivor. So everyone, if you're not fully invested into it, they're not going to show up. So I'm wondering if the jury or the lack of jury we're seeing, people just have kind of cut themselves from the game at this point. Like, Nick was full-fledged in the game, and I haven't seen Nick ever since. And the fact that we're missing Sophie, like, they're not seeing all like the live tribals. I'm sure they have a group chat. I know Colin Bunn and Lily are keeping everyone up to date. And so I appreciate them being there. But I think they're missing something in their thought process of not being able to see the tribals, that they're missing out and not making a more full judgment on their vote.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, because I can definitely tell from the emotions at tribal. Maybe they don't get to see it. Maybe they might get to see you running around all around the whispering wall that maybe they didn't tell you. Maybe you could tell how they were trying to manipulate on how maybe they're probably just lying and trying to get away from what the vote actually is at tribal, because there's sometimes where votes are decided on the last minute, possibly.
Yeah. And I think it was very nice of you to finally bring tribal inside. Everyone was in blankets and parkas and everything. Pretty much this was going to be an igloo pretty soon.
Yeah. Virginia's in the south, but the weather here is very confusing. It'll be 91 day, and then it'll be. I'm gonna wear sweats and a jacket today. It's very crazy. So in the winter, it got very cold. I honestly don't even know how we didn't have any inside tribals season 1, but I had one this season, so it was very cool.
Well, speaking of the final tribal, I do want to replay just the close-ups on everyone. So I'm gonna share my screen here. I'm gonna share some audio.
The memory wall.
Nope, it's not memory wall. This is the inside one. So
okay.
And go like that. I think we'll have audio, so. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But. And he's just so much thinking. He's like, I'm going to be fine. No idle play here. And that is one of my favorite parts, too, when you pan to the camera every time, Trevor. Oh, he's thinking. He's like, uh-oh, maybe I should have played it.
He's like, all right, that's Shaggy's vote. All right, that's Leah's vote. I'm still good.
Yeah. This is when he knows he's screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Shaggy's face.
Do you see that? That gulp right there. He's like, oh, no.
Just like, oh my gosh, I should have played it.
Uh-huh.
Lily in the
background, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Getting revenge. And then Colin as well in the background. How happy they were. So I just think that was really filmed very well, and you got all the perspectives of everyone, even the jury, and their reactions. So it was super funny to watch.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Lily's on this jury. I got shots of her. I mean, she's gonna have great reactions to these things. Yeah, and my favorite is Hannah's vote. For when in the voting, which is just holding up the parchment. I'm sure that's one of your next clips you have here.
I'm trying to, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's made me so funny, but. Yeah, I remember after the season. I think it was like around the final 4 or 3 of this season. I ran into John Pulley from season 1, and he was like, I heard Henry went home with the idol." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, I talked to him, and I told him he didn't play the idol." I was like, "What?" Because they're in the same fraternity, so that's how they knew each other and everything. It was just funny how it was just small world at CNU. Everyone knows everyone somehow.
So is that how you heard about this, Alex? Like, how did you hear about Survivor CNU?
So before I came to CMU, I actually came here because I was a part of the marching captains for my first semester, and I eventually got an email, and I was like, whoa, Survivor CNU, I'm a huge Survivor fan, and then I did like an interview with Gwen and whatnot, and then I just went along the route, and then I eventually went on to production, and then now here I am being the host. It's crazy how things change from what you think going in. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember Gwen did your interview. She did like 4 or 5 interviews. She was like, I feel okay about some of mine, but Alex is on the season, Trevor. I don't care what you say. Alex is on he's a huge fan. He's absolutely on this season. I was like, all right. I haven't met the kid, but sure.
Yeah.
And now we're both here. So it's crazy how things turn out, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And let's just recap how those votes went too. We have the little.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. He was so confident.
Yeah. that devious smile gets me every time. It's like here's your death sword right now.
Such an evil smirk.
And she's thinking, finally, we're able to get Henry out.
I will, to Henry's credit, I think for never seeing the show or as a prerequisite, apparently, I don't know if it's all for all college survivors, but a prerequisite to start CNU, watching Total Drama Island. I don't think he's ever seen that either. I think he, 6th place with an idol in his pocket. I think it's not bad. And I think Hannah described his game best. Henry started out this game being very trustworthy, and then the Addy boot happened, and he realized people are lying to him. So then he started lying, and then once he started lying once, he kind of just kept lying, and he liked it so much he just kept lying and lying and lying, and that was kind of his downfall. But like I said, for the chaos, as you said, Dustyn, for the chaos character, I think Henry was both a great character and a pretty good player as well.
Like, had he got to the end, I'm sure he could have presented his case, whatever it may be, and people would have been like, all right, I'll vote for this guy.
Yeah, that was definitely the feeling at the time of, like, if Henry gets to the end, like, I don't really care what anyone says. Like, how did we let this happen? We can't let this. We can't let the golden boy make it to the end. How?
Yeah, because he could have been like, well, I was target week after week after week after week after everyone knowing I have an idol, and I was so confident within my abilities that you guys didn't take me out.
Exactly.
But if he had played that idol, like, then Shaggy would have gone home. Like, I'm surprised. Like, I don't know, because if you were to split the vote 2-2-2, that would still, like, you would have to throw. Like, the couple would have to throw their vote on, like, a Leah or somebody just in case. Just in case, like, because no, Kristen and Henry had I don't know. So
I think
Hannah and Ray had this one down, I think.
I think it would depend on who the split vote was between and who would have voted after the revote. I think it would have depended on that, because if then, I think we have I think at that point there would be a whole scramble at Tribal trying to figure out. I think we could have potentially seen a Rocks situation if he did, because there's no way that Hannah and Colin Ray are voting each other out. There's no way that Shaggy and Leah or one of them two are going to vote out. At that point, I don't think Henry was willing to vote against Kristen at that point, and so at that point be a deadlock, and they would have had to go to Rocks.
Yeah, there was that little reach from Shaggy reaching out in that old group chat and saying, hey, it was fake from our chat that we saw with him and Hannah having it too. But I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be the big switch of the night. And it didn't really go anywhere. But I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be an off play or something.
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020, but I think if we were to replay this vote here, I think Henry and Kristen may have been like, maybe we should work with the duo that's not dating and that has more of a chance of voting each other. I think Leah and Shaggy might be thinking the same, because now it's kind of unprecedented, except from Survivor All Stars. We have a couple that is in a serious relationship at this time at the final 5.
Yeah.
And that is 40% of the vote.
Yeah. I think someone said it in the comments too. They're like, Colin and Hannah backstabbed Kristen and Henry. Kristen and Henry could have been like, hey, Shaggy and Leah, you haven't backstabbed us. They just backstabbed us. They're probably going to backstab you folks. Let's work together and vote them out next round.
Yeah, and I think you could say that at any vote of like, oh, it's final 10. We just found out they were dating. Why don't we go for them? It's final 9. Let's do it. 8, 7. And I think that just shows Colin and Hannah's ability to just maneuver themselves out of the situation. Convincing people that they are willing to vote for each other or whatnot. They made it to this point, and it's very impressive to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I think here's what's going to be Colin Ray's downfall, because I think it goes back to the touchy subject when everyone says Hannah's this super fan. So I think a lot of people could say, oh, Hannah was actually making these moves, not really Colin Ray. And I think that'll be interesting to see.
Well, we'll be interested in seeing next week. Trevor, what do we got coming up?
It's the finale. It's finale time. It'll be a little longer episode, of course. We got 5 people left. Like I said, it's absolutely anyone's game, because all of them have a reasonable argument to win this game, and the jury, however the jury thinks, could also shift how the dynamics go. It's been fun this season. It was fun to be part of, fun to edit, and it's fun to rewatch it and talk about it with you guys. And I appreciate you, Dustyn, having this time to talk about this random school in Eastern Virginia.
It's
been
always
a lot
Virginia these days. Like,
I
all
know.
the college survivors are happening out there for some reason.
Yeah, we have an alliance with Virginia, with UVA and Liberty. If any of those happen, there's a Virginia alliance no matter what. But yeah,
probably got to do Virginia versus the U.S. future season.
Exactly. It'll be a concluding finish. We still have an idol out there. We'll see what happens with that. You never know what's going to happen. The finale is always fun. So be sure to watch. It's next Tuesday at 7 p.m. The final episode of season 2 drops, and a trailer for season 3 also drops right afterwards. So be on the lookout for that. Some things might be unexpected in that trailer, so you have to watch to the end to see that.
See, now that is what I'm excited for too. Like I said, we kind of came into like the CNU voyage a little bit late. Like we missed our opportunity with season 1, and now we're just catching up with season 2. So we're definitely looking at following through on this course, on this path, and seeing where this goes next. Alex, thanks again for joining us tonight, and we will see you later in the whole CNU universe and as a host later on. Trevor, as well, thanks for joining again and hosting our backstage things that we have no idea about or do we understand. Thanks, Henry, for being there and giving us so many questions of what to think about. Destiny, of course, we miss you tonight. Best of luck with what you're doing right now. Big hopes for that. And then I guess make sure you tune into Live Reality Games here next Thursday as well. We'll be talking to someone, whether it be the winner or maybe a finalist. We'll still work everything out with Trevor so we can make sure to get everyone together one last time and try to get some answers about everything. So once again, make sure you subscribe here on Facebook.com/Live Reality Games or on YouTube also at Live Reality Games or anywhere else you get your social media. Till then, folks, we'll see you next podcast. Bye.